right, everybody, welcome. Let's take a good look at Anguirus 1972. Now, what's interesting about these guys right here is that they do not open from the bottom and the top. They open from the sides. So let's get into it. Let's check it out. My goodness, the chemical smell out of this, that fresh plastic smell. Oh my God. It is very strong. Okay.
You gotta be for Anguirus.
Yeah. All right, here's our first one right here. I'm not going to pose them right away. I'm just going to set them and line them up right now, okay? So there's our first Anguirus. They have it positioned so that he kind of standing up. There's nothing else in the clamshell. It's just the figure itself. You may have seen this in promo, but they have little speech bubbles right here on the side panel. So you can pose your figures next to it if you want to take a photo of it, or if you don't really care about the boxes, you can cut these out, make a little stand yourself with them. We lost a leg in this one right here.
Oh my God.
Oh no. That's okay. We'll just pop it right back on just like that. Look at that. Nothing wrong.
Nah, it's the beauty of ball joints.
Okay. There's our third one right there. We've got three amigos there. There we go. There's our 4 Anguirus right there. And there you have it. There's our 4 Anguirus figures. Let's take a closer look. Let's just look at the figure first. Look at that beautiful eye right there. Wow. So these are decals that are put on the figure right here. These are not dot matrix painted, so they're very full of color.
And life.
There's some blending that we've got over here on the top. Looks really, really great. Right there on the crest right there, the crown, if you will. There's some minor blending right here over on the horn. It's very subtle, though. It's more of a white to yellow. It's kind of interesting choice right there. There's a seam line. Yeah, there's a seam line right here under the cheek. I think that's a well-put area. That way it's just not going across the whole face, you know? So that was kind of smartly done. Let's open up the mouth there. So, oh yeah. So here's something I noticed. Some people were saying that the mouth doesn't open up that far, but it does look like it opens quite well. The thing is it will spring back if you don't do it nice and slow. So if I did this, yeah, it springs right back. But if you just pose it nicely like that, yeah, it'll be fine. The tongue is also on a ball joint. Let me get my little tweezers over here. So yeah, it's you can see it kind of moves a little bit like that. It can go up higher, but it will probably pop out if it go any higher than that. There's not a lot of shading on the figure itself. It's kind of one color. There's some, like right here is a little bit of a darker brown color, but for the most part, it's just kind of a flat one color.
Broom would like to know if the bottom jaw is on a ball joint or a hinge.
Just so you can see it, I will take it off. So it is a ball joint. Just like that. So there's the carapace. You know what's great about this is I think they nailed the sculpt. Because I feel like many other Anguirus toys, it's just spikes in one direction, right? It's just straight up. But there's there's different angle on it. Like these ones are backwards and upside down. These ones are it's kind of like a swirl almost in a way, right?
Mm.
I mean, I don't know if you see what I'm seeing right here, but you see how you see these are going down, but then these ones are going up.
Oh yeah.
And I know people are saying, the price for this, it's $140 MSRP in the United States, right? I mean, this is where that cost came in, was making this part right here, the shell. 100%. That's where all that's going in. All these things had to be individually sculpted. This isn't 3D sculpted. This is one person going in and sculpting each. And look how close they are to each other. Now, I'm assuming the way it works, the way he sculpted it, was that he sculpted each of these individually, and then he was putting them onto the shell one at a time. That whole process in of itself, I mean, there's got to be over 100 of these, right? On the back of that.
And what's even crazier is that on top of the fact that you have all of these spikes going in every which way, there's still detail below them.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I really like about this, is that there's no hard stop paint. It's all blended. You see that?
Yeah.
All those spikes have some proper blending. It's like what they did was they just kind of dipped it or something, but it caused a nice blending effect. I don't think maybe they are hand painted to make it look like this. Maybe it's an airbrush. I can't really tell, but they look really, really good.
They do. And there's no excess paint on his shell either. It's literally just on the spikes.
I mean, if you really, really want to get in there, and nitpick, like there's a little bit of glob of paint on this one right here at the edge. Just a couple spots. But you wouldn't notice if it was, from afar. Yeah, from afar, you wouldn't really notice it. But just if you really wanted to get up there, put your eye up to it. You know what I mean? All right. Going from the neck down to the leg area. We've got these all individually painted on the side like that. Look at that. Right there on the side. The feet, the claws, they've got some blending right there too. Let's look at the feet. The legs, articulation. I can't wait to show you guys more about this right here. This is insane what these guys did with the articulation on this. It's absolutely insane.
Oh, already there's a lot of implications. Good God.
And what's great is that, you can pose it so that it's standing up, or you can pose it where it's on the ground, and it looks seamless. There is a semi-gloss kind of sheen to this figure. It's not entirely matte. It's not entirely super glossy either, but it's more of like a semi-gloss effect. Let's look at the tail. The bottom of the tail doesn't have any spines or anything like that, but the top of it does, and I really dig it. It's random, but it makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, there's your whole tail right there. Yeah. So it's things like this that confuse me, right? Where we get blending on spikes, but then we don't get any blending on the body itself. So it's like, okay, guess most of the budget, was put into the carapace over here. So
now and it looks awesome. So
all right, so let's get into the articulation of the figure. We'll start with the head. So we can go up, down, you can go left to right. Left to right is a little bit more limited because of the cheek sculpt right here.
Mm.
But that's where the neck's going to come into play. So I'm just moving the head only right now. So you can do a 360 with that head. You can even twist it all the way around.
Mm.
A little Exorcist to Anguirus moment, right? You've got the jaw that can open and close. It closes fairly well.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any bunching because of the teeth, which is really cool.
Yeah, the teeth are placed just, if we look at that right there, they're just right, where they kind of fall in line. That's great. The tusks don't get in the way either. The mouth paint detail, it's all right. It's just one solid color. There's no blending inside the mouth at all. So that's surprising, because usually they do a little bit of blending on the inside. The teeth paint actually looks okay. I think they do well when they have bigger teeth to paint, right? Versus the smaller teeth, like a -1 figure, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's for mass production. Painting something that small is just Oh God, I don't want that job.
But let's look at the neck here. So the whole neck articulation, like if we can get this guy to look, I like to do this as careful as I can without trying to pop it out. You can get a lot of movement with this neck range. Yeah. And you know what? You can move the abdomen down even further. Look at that. So yeah, you can get him to look down all the way.
Oh my God. And from the front, there's like no gaps. Bro just looks like he's sad.
Yeah. And I think that helps with the floating ring that goes around the torso right there. Otherwise, it would look very ugly. It kind of already does. If you look right here in the back, you can see that big giant empty gap right there. But by not having this part of the sculpt attached to the carapace right here, you're able to get this. So that's a big bonus. I think that was really smart to do this ring after all, because if it was attached to a ball joint that was just on the back of this, I think it would look pretty ugly. So there's your left movement. So this is straight on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. Get him from the backside.
That's kind of badass. Hey, yo.
Yeah. Looks good. So this whole torso area, you can look at that. Like I said, it gets a little ugly right here, but that's because the floating ring, you can move this up. When you're doing your toy photography, you don't have to leave it like that. You can move this. It's adjustable. So if you see that gap, just move it up and it'll cover it. And you see it stays too. Here's what it looks like from the top view when you're moving that, by the way. So he's got plenty of room to move around. As far as the middle section goes, I'm going to just grab it from, he's doing ab crunches like, that old classic workout video, right? As far as twisting goes, so here it is straight on, right? If I twist the body, you can adjust it, the backside, since it's on that floating ring to go with it. Just to give you a better idea of what that looks like straight. So he's twisting all the way around like that. That's kind of the limitation of that. It's not going to go any further unless you move the legs, because that's what's stopping it from moving right now. It's that leg piece right there. So right here, it's stopping it. As far as arm articulation goes, I'm just holding it by the tip right there. We can go all the way around. Oh, wow, look at that. Yeah, at the elbow can twist. I think they did way better job here at the wrists than they did with Shimo right here, because Shimo was sculpted with the part of the ankle part right here, or the wrist part, where it was kind of into the figure. But this is actually, it's got a sheath, a wrist sheath like that. So you can pose it in a way where it's just straight.
Damn.
So you can either have it like this one right here where it's more angled. And that angle, look at that, that's like 90 degrees. Or you can go all the way straight. You can't go further than this though. That's it. That's as far as it's going to go. These arms, they can go all the way back. Look at that. Oh, I popped it out right there. I like that, when you go, so inward and outward, right? Look at that. You can make them all the way touch that cheek right there. Oh, we're going to have to do one of those poses, aren't we?
We are, where he's on his elbows and he's holding his face and he's kicking his feet behind him.
The darling Anguirus, right? The legs, so the legs at the hips on this one are really loose, actually. They didn't even need any loosening up from the heat gun or anything like that, but they're really loose right here. So might be a point of concern as far as holding poses go, but I think it's holding it quite well, actually.
Yeah, he's not doing splits right out the gate, which is comforting.
Yeah, so he is looking okay right there. So he can stand straight, just like that. We're going to get him on all fours now. And it's really crazy. It's like a double barbell joint or something like that in here, because we can go straight to completely like that. Look at that.
Jesus.
Like it's pretty much touching the shin right there. So I'll show you guys. We're going to get this all posed out here.
That's rather acute English.
Yes. So you just have to pose it like that there. To get the best pose, you're going to want to make the knees kind of touch the ground first. and then you'll want to angle the feet out just a little bit. That's going to be more natural. The thing is that when you're doing this, you have a tendency to push the figure down, so it doesn't really, it just kind of collapses on itself when you do this process. So it's just going to take some getting used to and some finagling, but you'll be able to get it. So there is our Anguirus on the ground pose right there.
Wow. It almost looks like it shouldn't be bending that way. That's like...
Yeah, any other figure, this would not tolerate it that well. You know, it would just pop right off. But it's designed. It's designed, you know, you've got, I think this helps because if you look at Shimo's foot, again, it's just one piece, right? You've got articulation right here. You've got another point right here. So there's, you know, let's count that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You've got 7 points of articulation here on the foot alone, on the leg alone. Same thing with the arms. You can pose these guys so that they're, you know, you got the elbow, so you can pull that elbow back like that. Have this one out a little bit more. Let's just see how they're doing this ankle bend. So I'm going to take it apart. I'm really curious. Just the standard foot. We're going to take off the sheath right here. We're going to see what, okay. I mean, that's all it is. It's just, it's like a cap. I think it is a double barbell system. Yes, it is. So there's a joint that goes into the ankle. There's a joint that goes in the ankle, and then there's another joint piece right here in the center, and then there's another joint right there. So it's able to really bend. I mean, just showing you just that bend alone right there. So going back to leg articulation, you know, we can get this all the way out, bent there. You can bend inwards, outwards, inwards. You can straighten that leg to do like a karate chop. High kick, if you will. Can't get the leg to bend all the way straight, though. That's as far as it's going to go. Because you got this knee bend right here. It's not going to go straighter than that. Feet articulation, you know, you can't go further than this. You see that right there? That's as far as it's going to go. It'll pop off if you do that. However, going the opposite direction, it is designed so that you can get all the way over there. All pretty much almost touching the shin like that. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, I mean, on the opposite side, we can get it pretty flat like that. That's crazy.
Nuts.
If I were to force this, I could make it go all the way around 360, but I'm not going to. But you've got extra articulation right there on the side. You've got your bending knees right here. As far as the knee goes, that's it. That's all the knee articulation that you're going to get. It won't go more than that. Most of that bend is going to come here in the ankles, though, when you're posing that Anguirus.
Just probably about as much as you would need, you think, right?
You're definitely going to get more mileage that way. Let's look at the tail. This is great. This guy can, you know, we can go all the way up. Now, I'm going to see how far we can get it, but I think we can get it to touch the shell or the carapace. Yeah, pretty close to it. Pretty close. Yeah. Oh, maybe. Look at that. I just keep going.
Wow.
So that tail articulation is, hot damn, look at that. Almost touching the head.
He's pointing to the neck
Pretty
pain.
close. As far as the side to side, you know, it's moving pretty well. It's not, you've got some decent range in here. It's not like a Godzilla tail where it's really close, you know, in the segments and it's hard to move. Oh, there we go. Went too far on that one. So, wow. But you can twist this so that it's even more, wow, goodness.
That's just lovely.
And as far as downwards go, you're going to get more articulation going downwards than you were going the other direction, except for the tail tip right here. The tail tip's kind of pre-bent upwards. So the carapace is a floating piece. I've seen a lot of photos online in Japan pop up, and I was just wondering, how the heck did they do this thing? You know, that's the big question. How does this work with articulation? all that other good stuff, right? And with this right here, there is a ring that it's attached to that goes over the torso part right here. With that, it's able to allow for articulation so that Anguirus can go side to side. You can even see that when I did that right there. You see that gap like that right there? You're able to move it up and down. Look at that. You get that crunch. So there's that. But it's a floating piece. So when you're posing this, it's gonna, you see that how it goes like that. So it's gonna take some getting used to. I think some people might complain about it. It's not overly tight though around the middle. You can see that there's a little bit of some leeway right there, so you can move it around. So I think that's important to get that articulation going right there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so the shell is on the ring. Like I said, it's a floating ring. I've seen some people posting like with Kong holding it up like a shield. There's some decent room right here for the body to move around. As far as, wow, look at that. That's some interesting torso articulation right there. Yeah, look at that. It's like a hinge. And it kind of goes up and down right there. It's got a stopper in the back, so it won't go further than this. There's a stopper that stops it right here in the back of it. But you can go. So it definitely helps out for moving forward. But that's kind of, this is so unique. I've never seen this for a torso joint before. Yeah, look at that.
But no, that is crazy.
I'm going to stick this together just to see what it looks like without the...
Oh, it's going to look cursed.
Right? So this is what it looks like without... So this is the backside of Anguirus right there. The copyright info is actually on the inside. No sculpted texture or anything.
It's like a bowling ball grew limbs. Jesus, Lord in heaven.
So, but you guys can kind of see a little bit better, though, how this articulation works in the center, since this part goes around the centerpiece that covers up this big old gap. But, you can see it's got that movement, though, because of that. So you can get that side to side. You won't be able to twist it like this with the carapace on. You're not, no way. But when we have it bend over like that, that's how much of a gap it creates. Look at that. If you ever do take it apart, everybody, it's easy to remember which way it goes on because the backside is smaller than you got the cutout right here for where the back of the head goes. So you're just going to stick this on like so, and hopefully it'll snap back on because that piece likes to move forward right there. We were going to attempt to make this go into a ball. So let's see if I can do it. I don't think it's going to be 100% possible, but I think we'll get somewhere in there. That's it. That's as far as it's going to get.
Still a pretty good, curve and bend in, honestly. For something that has a ring floating at the center of its torso, the bend and everything is really, really nice.
And it's because the clearance right here between that, it works so well. You can see that bit of a gap. So that's enough. The whole sunken part of the torso is inside the sculpt now. But the ring covers it up so it doesn't look so bad. You just move the arms. You'll see it better this way. It can look ugly, but I think it's smart in how they did this. Let's get another look at the tail. It's solid. I know it popped off a couple times when I was moving it, but that was just because I was forcing it too far. But just, loosey-goosey. That's fluid.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And as far as getting it to go off to the side, it's got some range on there. Real quick. See how that's a little loose at the hip right there? But that's only because I'm putting some pressure on it. It just folds out just like that. That's on this figure though. Yeah, no pressure. It stays just just a-okay. So you just need to be careful when you do that. Okay, so I'm gonna bring out all 4 of them here, and we're gonna take a good look at the eyes. They're not looking forward. They're off to the sides. This is what MonsterArts usually does with a lot of the figures. They don't usually do the straightforward look.
Yeah, that looks pretty par for the course for each of them.
And then when we look at the decal itself on all 4 of them, you know, it's placed in the same spot right there. Third one right here. We'll look at this one here. They just look good. I just wish they use decals all the time when they do eyes. They just look so much better.
They really do. Wow.
So, and then as far as tusks go, you know, this one's got a little bit of paint dribble right there on the side of the tooth. Let's see if they're all like that. That's clean on this one right here. Clean on number 3. And then 4th one on the tusks. It looks good on the tusks on that one too. So not bad. Just one little dribble on one of them. One little paint drip. As far as the mouth goes and the teeth goes, let's look at that. So it's not so bad.
No.
There's a little bit of right here, a little bit caked on the bottom of that row. That's clean though. This one's pretty clean. Let's look at this guy here. Yeah, the teeth look good on this one too. Yeah, this one's pretty clean on the inside too. We're just looking at shading on the crown area right there. Looks good. I mean, really, it's kind of hard to see any differences, you know?
Yeah, like, even when trying to look for something to, like, look at, I guess I should say, I mean, they're all pretty on point. I can't spy anything.
So we're looking at claws now and the little spikes on the legs. I really like the blending though. It looks nice. Yeah, that blending on those claws, it looks great.
It's bonkers.
Let's look at the carapace on all these guys. Man, I just really like the way it looks. It's almost like an illusion, an eye illusion. Like it looks like it's like spiraling in a certain way, but it's really not.
If you stare long enough at it without blinking, you'll see an image of Mario. Yeah, man, they crushed this.
You can see all the detail on there too. You know, and that just goes to show none of these are identical. They're all painted slightly different, you know, towards the tips and everything, you know, but there's a consistency to it at the same time.
I got to give them credit. I'm sure with the carapace, a lot of people are like, how are we going to do this? And you got 4 right in front of you right now, and it's like, sheesh.
I'm going to say it. I think this is, so far on my list, this is figure of the year for MonsterArts so far. I'm really enjoying it. We'll see what else happens to the rest of the year, right? Let's look at the front of these guys now. I mean, you know, there's no blending or anything. I think what's going to make it appear like there's some blending on the main body is just the semi-gloss effect. It's just going to have those shadows casting on it. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same.
The shadows really do make it look like there's shading on there.
Yeah, so there's the feet, some shading on those claws. Even actually towards the base of the claw where it meets the skin, it's got a nice shade of a darker brown color.
Wowzers.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, when it comes to variants, it's very It's very minute. There's not a lot of differences. The shading on the horn is mostly consistent throughout all these guys. The crown, even on the backside of the carapace, it all looks pretty solid. You're not going to know the difference unless you have 4 in your hand, right? I think we can appreciate that the eye paint is fantastic on all 4 of these. There's no differences right there. I haven't even seen any differences with other people's that they've posted online when it comes to the eye paint. Like, it all looks consistent. And that's what we like to see with this line, is consistency, We'll take it when we can get it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to bring out the Revoltech Anguirus figure. Right off the bat, the big thing I notice with this guy right here is you can't get that angle bend. You're not going to get that ankle bend that this guy has. It's just not possible because this is just one joint on that foot right there. This one is a little bit more of an olive green brown color, whereas this one's a total brown color, right? And there's a reason for that. The idea is that this one, since it's from 1972, the suit is a lot more dirty from being used in the previous movie. I was looking at a lot of stills and kind of comparing that. And it just is a little bit more of a dirtier color, by comparison. So I think that's why they went with this color. Now, if they ever reissued the 1972 Anguirus as a 1968 version, I think they'll go for more of this color scheme. There's a difference in the head too. I don't know if you guys can see the difference in the jaw. Actually, that's where it is. The jaw sculpt is a little bit different. So this one's kind of got a little bit more angle on it right there, whereas this one's just more, it's just more straight, I guess. I don't know how to really describe it, but it's
a bit less droopy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see, and I don't even think you can close this. Yeah, I mean, that's as far as you can close that. It's not so bad. I think the carapace is also smaller on the Revoltech too, by comparison. Like, when I get it on a side-by-side view. Yeah, I think there's not as much coverage for this one. Like, you can see more of the tail end right there, where I think this is more, it covers a lot more for sure. And this one is completely soft plastic. Like, this is like a vinyl on top of it. You can just move that. With this one right here, it's a softer plastic, but it doesn't have that vinyl feel to it or anything. But it is softer. You can touch this. I think I mentioned this earlier in the stream. If you touch this, it's not going to be like Godzilla Vault where it's going to cut up your hands. It's very soft. Very soft to the touch. So I'm going to start bringing out some figures for some comparisons here. One of the reasons why I think you should keep your Revoltech Anguirus actually is because of this figure itself. It doesn't look so bad in here, but I've seen some other photos where he looked a lot smaller, but they don't scale. Way bigger than Mechagodzilla. So if you have your Revoltech Anguirus, I think that will scale better.
Oh yeah.
With your Mechagodzilla. That's what it should look like.
I'm so jealous you have a Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, it looks great. They look great together. But you see, when we put Mechagodzilla in there, just so you guys can see the difference in scale, like, he's so much smaller. Let's bring out Godzilla 1972. They look good together.
They really do.
Here's our special guest figure.
Yes! The best Toho Maniacs figure of all time.
That's how that scales. If anybody was curious, if you own this Toho Maniacs figure, this is how it scales. This is supposed to be larger than Godzilla 2. So I think it really is almost the perfect scale. But yeah, that's the little crew. And eventually we're going to get King Ghidorah in 1972 out here, where we're going to have the whole complete cast put up on display. I'm going to have to move the camera even further back for that shot right there. So on both sides of the box, there is dialogue. I'm going to have to hold these up for you guys, but that's the idea, is that if you didn't want to tear up the box or anything like that, you can just have it like this, and now they have their little chat bubbles. If you're not crazy about keeping the boxes, you can cut these out, make your homemade stand with the dialogue. And then on the other side of the box opening, so you can have Anguirus on either side of them, right? So it's a neat little Easter egg. I would have liked it if they had these actual accessories as a sign that they just included on here instead of having you have to cut it out yourself. I know some of you are wondering, is this going to be the same one that we're going to get? And the answer is no. This is the 1964 Ghidorah. The 1972 Ghidorah has a different sculpt, different wing sculpt and everything. It's going to look a little bit different from this. Just like the movie. So here's the 96, the new Gamera. The Soul of Chogokin. Scale with -1. So here it is with the 2021. Yes, this is V2. Here's with the ultimate, or that exclusive Brain Godzilla. This is the 2.0 Skullcrawler. We've also got the Muto. So this is the new Mogira, the new paint scheme on that. So here's our Jet Jaguar. The 2002 Godzilla that I'm bringing out right now is the second reissue. So this one's got the dot matrix eyes. The first issue of 2002 Godzilla uses decals. There's your Final Wars Godzilla. Yeah, I can't wait for the 1972 to come out. I'm very curious because Sakai's stylization that he does is bringing these creatures to life so they don't match the suits. And the suit of the 1972 Ghidorah was in poor condition. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to make that look a lot more realistic and without those suit proportions on there. That's potentially what we're looking at for the whole set, though, right? They look good together. They sure do. So this is Mechagodzilla 2021 with Anguirus. All right, everybody, that wraps up our stream for today. Thank you all so much for coming out and supporting it. Thank you, Rob, for coming out again. And until then, we'll see you guys later.